Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Nerding Out with Blizzy. This is episode number 3 of season 2. We are back with another episode, back with another special guest this week. I have big news to start off this episode, though, before we even move on with anything. We have our first ever sponsor of this episode. Now, I have worked with this company for, I want to say, a year now, and they make some of the best stuff I have ever seen. I'll probably put a little clip or something of the website, but Tyro Apparel is the sponsor of this video. They are actually currently have made me a website for the podcast itself. So if you want to head out over to tyroapparel.com, they have everything on there. I mean, they have stuff for Tyro Apparel for them. They have stuff for me for my streams. They have stuff for my podcast and so much more. And then I think I even know the creator has a lot more. I know the owner has a lot more coming out. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to, head on over, use NOWB at checkout. That is Nerding Out with Blizzy, just NOWB at checkout. You can get 10% off. And again, thank you so much, Tyro Apparel, for sponsoring this episode. But ladies and gentlemen, episode number 3, season 2, we're moving on. We're going through this pretty quick. This is obviously the same week that I'm recording the other one. Had spring break, so I'm getting all of the recordings done in 1 week. So our special guest this week has been an amazing new friend of mine. Just met him probably less than a year ago, but he has been somebody that supports me big time. He is actually our video editor. He is fantastic at it. Edited the first episode and probably the second and third one as well. So be on the lookout for any type of his links below. Everything that is linked is all his, so make sure you guys drop him a follow on whatever. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Short Stacks to Nerding Out with Blizzy podcast. Welcome.
Yo, thank you. Thank you.
It's good to have you.
I'm super pumped to do this.
I'm
super pumped.
Excited to have you on the podcast because, like I said in the intro, barely, we've talked a few times, but I mean, as of recent, I'd say less than a year. We definitely less than probably even 6 months that we've known each other now.
Yeah, at least because I'm trying to think. I'm coming up on a year total, so yeah, definitely less than a year.
Yeah, and we met, I feel like it was mostly through Mason's stream on Twitch, but I feel like we also just met through like either like host, maybe he hosted somebody or just something like that, but I don't even remember like the exact moment that we met.
It's literally like all of a sudden it went from like I was during work, I'd just be chilling in Mason stream, and all of a sudden you'd be like, yo, how was your stream? And I'm like, oh, that person streams too.
Right.
So then I'd like pop in on their stuff as soon as I knew they were live.
Well, and I think Sako too, I think has raided before or something like that. And I think maybe one of us was in one of his raids, and I know he supports the streams big time. So I think maybe he had hosted one of us or something that one time. But man, I'm so excited to have you on. I'm excited to, there's a specific thing that I'm excited to talk about that not a lot of people probably know about, and I know it is still developing as, me and you are hearing about it, but it is kind of big. I mean, it was a big game in beta. We're gonna hit it hard here in just a second, but it is darker and darker, so we'll talk about that here in a second. Is there anything that you have been, I know me and you have talked about this a little bit, what have you been up to, like, streaming wise? I know, is there a certain game you've been sticking with, or has it just been bouncing back and forth?
I've definitely, like, as soon as a lot of that dark and darker stuff hit, like, I definitely was like, oh no, I gotta find a home.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lot of bouncing, but lately I've really found myself loving Hell Let Loose. Like, that's just been a sweet little niche that I've really enjoyed the game in, and the community's awesome.
It seems like that game, from what I've seen, I've never played it, and I'm very interested too, but it seems like there's like a bunch of different roles. Am I correct on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even so, if you break it down, you have like big subcategories of like infantry, armor, and recon. And then like individually under each of those, you have additional roles to be played. So there's so much to learn about the game, crazy. Which I think is the parts that like the biggest attraction for me.
Right. No, that's great. I've seen like there's people that are literally just, they're spotters. Like they're there just to look through some binoculars and spot people.
Oh yeah, that's their whole job. That's what they do for like, so like each game's an hour and a half, and say you play that fully, you'd like you're hour and a half behind binoculars, and you're just chilling.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do that, but I do feel like that it takes everybody to play the role. That's like, and I've seen too, like there's a way you can talk to like command, like you can talk to people that are in command or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a whole tree that exists. So it goes command to squad lead to units. And then each of the squad leaders can talk across all 3 of those components of like the entire army, and then report up to command about what's happening. Like the communication tree in it alone is just wild.
That's ridiculous. I've seen like I said, it's 50. I think you told me this, or maybe somebody. I think you told me that it's 50v50, right?
Yeah, 50v50.
And I've seen the map is like just from when people like press the map button, and I look
Oh
at
my
the map and
gosh.
it looks ginormous.
Oh yeah, and despite the map size, there's almost never a moment where you don't feel in danger, which is the crazy part. Like you look at a map that size, you're like, yeah, I'll just be safe over there. That's not true because there's just like a roaming tank over there chilling that takes you out.
And
It's insane.
I've seen like people are like, I think I was watching you, or maybe it was Mason. I can't remember now. But like people will refuse to walk across an open field. Like they will
Oh
refuse to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if there's like an open field and I see it, and then like the only thing there's like a barbed wire fence, it's just immediately like, well, I'm just gonna get shot if I cross this, so no way.
I've seen that game looks crazy. I know that it has a smaller not really. I mean, not like small, but I know it's a smaller fan base. But
Yeah.
I can tell that the community is like takes it very serious. It looks very fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely in that regard like smaller, but I've never seen like a community that rallies around a game so hard
Right.
and just like demanding not in like a negative way, but demanding that attention that the game like they feel deserves.
Right.
And after putting time in it, I get it. Like I understand
Makes
where they're
sense.
coming from.
Yeah. Now it makes
Yeah.
sense. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I see, and I need to find that. And that game looks very interesting. But luckily, I've had, as of this podcast is recording, I've been grinding a lot of MLB The Show, so I had that to like fall back on. But if it wasn't for that game dropping right now, I probably honestly would have bought that game by now and started playing it because it looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, I get that. That's the hard part too, though. Like you have to decide now because everything, like all games are just expensive. So you have to
Yeah.
decide, like, and when you make that choice, you're in it, which
Yeah.
is the crazy part.
Yeah, and that's what I think from what I've seen, like all the games I want are either $30 or more, or sometimes $40 or more. Which, like, if you think about it, nowadays that's not too bad. Back then, we used to have every game was $60. Like there was never a game that was $50. There was never a game that was $20. It was always, unless you bought it, obviously not brand new, but if you were to get a new game, it was always going to be $60.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you were just that's what you had to do. Like
Yeah.
there was just no choice involved.
You could save up and you would know exactly like that's I don't know how like the reason growing up is just like I knew like oh I just spent $60 on not even like if I spent $60 on a toy or something I could have been like oh that's $60 I could have bought a brand new game like it's just the number 60 to me it always is gonna remind me of the Xbox 360 and being like oh I could have just bought a brand new game.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, that the jump from Xbox 360 era from like previous PS2, PS1, and like that in that generation Xbox, and then all of a sudden you
Yes.
have that price jump that just occurs,
Yes.
and you just oh
Well, even like on the PS5, like nowadays, I think games have gone from 60 to 70. So like even when
my
I'm going to
gosh.
buy a game, I'm like, dang, this is $10 more. I'm like, am I buying a deluxe edition? And
Yeah,
every single time I
right.
look, it's just a standard edition. But I think they've now like switched all the prices from 60 to 70.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep, that's yeah.
a little ridiculous, but it's all right. Let's go ahead and dig a little bit. I know there's not a lot we know, to be honest, but I do want to talk about it because I had found interest in it. I played a little bit of it, but I know that the community around this game, Dark and Darker, had a very big fan base. Very big people were like all over it. But I'm gonna read something that we got. It's just a screenshot that I found on Twitter from a Darker Darker page. That was sent in Discord. I'm just going to read this out real quick. It says, to all our fans, we have recently been served a cease and desist letter and DMCA takedown by, I want to say, is it Nexon? Did I say that right?
Yep, next on, yeah.
Nexon regarding Dark and Darker based on the distortion claims. We are currently working with our legal team to remediate this issue in the best manner possible. Due to the sensitive legal nature of this issue, we must be careful with our statements so as to not jeopardize our position. We ask for your understanding as we work to get the game back up as quickly as possible. Please know that we will do all that is possible for our fans. Thank you. So that message was, I think, March 25th or maybe March 24th. I not knowing a lot. I know that the game was it an open beta and then they closed it and then the full game was going to release in April.
Yeah, that was so they had that playtest and like everything was pointing to like they're coming out early access. And then they did what I feel at the time was the right thing. They're like, listen, we still have that one or a couple little nitty-gritties that we want to work out.
Right.
So there's gonna be one more playtest. And I'm like, yes, I'm in.
Right.
Just the way that they're handling everything, I'm like, this all makes sense. And then that drops, and oh my lord.
Yeah, I had so I didn't know anything about it until you had said something in my chat the other day, and I was like, and then I was like, oh, it's probably not that big. Like maybe it's just somebody tried to take our name or somebody tried to steal money or something. And then I was like, oh, they have like removed it from Steam like completely. Like it's off of everything.
Yeah, I heard the rumblings, and then like it went from the rumblings to then the next thing I see is it's removed from Steam, and I went from like this is kind of odd to oh no, I better start panicking.
Right, like this is actually happening type of deal.
Yeah, this is real now.
But I think this is like in a while I feel like there has not been, and I shouldn't say it's not really. I mean kind of drama in quotations, but like around a game dropping, and I feel like this is like the first real like game that I have seen that has a lot of hype, that has been now completely taken off just the market in general.
Right. And that's the weird part, right? Like normally game drama occurs post drop. You know, you have Fallout 76,
Right.
you have No Man's Sky where they don't meet the expectations that they provided. Like this is pre-release drama that's
Yeah.
just get drama and allegations and accusations that have taken place all beforehand. And none of it's from the community. Like
Right.
it's all two companies back and forth.
Yeah, and that's what like you were naming off some of those games. This like not the situation necessarily, but I feel like what is going to happen. It's essentially like the Cyberpunk. Like when Cyberpunk came out, they had it didn't meet anybody's expectations. It was bricking people's GPUs. It was doing all this stuff. So like that was like the last time that a game came out and I was like, oh, like it had a big problem. And then I heard about this, and now this has not game issues. This is like legal issues.
Yeah, well, and then even you're talking about delisting. Even Cyberpunk got itself delisted. Like,
Right.
so
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it's
that's
a
right.
perfect comparison, really.
It was. Does this game? I have no clue. I know the playtest was free. Did the game cost money at all, or was it just free to play?
So they were kind of vague about what the cost would be. There was definitely going to be a cost for it,
Right.
but they were never like direct with telling you what it would be. And I this is going way back to a post I read, and it was something along the lines of an interview I was reading that they didn't necessarily want to throw a price tag on it and then
Right.
like without knowing the value, I guess. It was something along those lines. It was an interview, but I'm 90% certain like English is like second language, so there was I don't know if the interview just didn't stick in my brain correctly or whatever, but
Right.
the translation, But I'm pretty sure that's the vague answer to that.
Right. No, that makes sense. I just didn't know like because was there cosmetics or anything in the game yet, or I figured they were probably strictly just playtest, right?
So it was strictly playtest, but what they had is there was in-game currency that happened, but
Oh,
you could
okay.
get that currency by surviving dungeons. So I don't think at the time that you could like put money in and get this
Right.
rewards, but almost none of it was pay to win. Like you just survive dungeons or whatever, and you get this survivor currency, and you could buy like skins, torch colors, emote animations, and the
Gotcha.
skins that you could buy did apply some bonus,
Right.
but the bonus was also met with like an equating negative to it. So there wasn't like
It's that
a
perfect
pay to win
balance.
scheme. Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, I just didn't know like if they were gonna do a refund type of deal, but like if they really didn't even have a cost on it, I guess they probably won't even do that yet. But
Right.
I'm hoping good things come out because I was excited to try it out. I tried out the playtest, but I think I told you I think I did like 4 or 5 solo raids, and it just got killed every single time. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't be playing this solo. But
Yeah, it's one of those really rare games where normally you can like compensate in some way if you're solo, like being a little sneakier or whatever, or getting around a little sneaky. But
yeah,
it's weirdly threatening to solo players, which I think that was the back end of their release of the solo dungeon on the latest playtest. Is like, okay, well, here's a place where you can be solo,
right.
and even that was dangerous, but it was more survivable, and people were likely to team up, so it
Makes
kind of
sense.
balanced itself out. Yeah.
I'm hoping like really positive things come out, but at this point, it's just a waiting game. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. That wait is brutal too.
Yeah.
I will say, like on their end, they have been incredibly transparent. Like I jumped in their Discord a while back,
Right.
and the amount of posts that they release on kind of where they're at and what's happening is insane. And not
Really?
only that, yeah, oh my gosh, and there are paragraphs on paragraphs of like what they're dealing with, breakdowns of assets that are stolen. And I say stolen in quotes because obviously nothing's been, proven or
Confirmed.
disproven
Right.
yet.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're so concise with their responses and public with it. It's mind blowing. Like I thought this is all going to be behind like a shroud of secrecy, and we're not going to know what's happened. It's like no. Iron Man's just going to throw it right in your face. Like this
Yeah.
is what we're looking at. This is our proof. It's crazy.
This is what is happening. Like,
Yeah, it's wild. This
they're
the
including you
transparency has
guys
been
on
very
it.
encouraging. Yeah, and most of the time you're not going to really hear that, but they're very forefront with what's happening.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll wait. We'll see what comes out about it. I wanted to move on to something that I know that we both have seen. I have you now. Before I say the title, have you played it?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
played way back on the original release.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about a game slash movies or not movie TV show. If you have not seen it, this is your spoiler warning. Now we are gonna talk about The Last of Us. So I'm giving you guys there are spoilers in this. So if you want to tune out now, pause it, go watch it, go play it, do whatever, come back, like the video, buy a t-shirt, do whatever you gotta do, But we are going to talk about it, so I don't want to ruin it for somebody and then you guys get mad at me. So we are going to talk about The Last of Us. And I have to start, and this is just because I want just to get your opinion on this. It's called Start, Bench, Cut. Okay, you got to start somebody, like you keep them, like this is the person that rolls with you. If you're in an apocalypse, this is the person that rolls with you. Bench is this is the person that you have help you out, like every once in a while. Like they can show up and help you here and there. And then cut is somebody that ends up dying and you don't see them anymore. So I'm going to give you 3 characters. You're going to tell me if you're going to start them, they're going to roll with you the whole time, they're your partner. You're going to bench, you're going to cut. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you're going to start, bench, cut. Ready? Abby,
Yep.
Ellie,
Okay.
Joel. Now, I know
Oh no.
I know Abby is a shout. I was going to say Tommy, but I feel like we didn't get a lot of Tommy. So Abby, I know we got a lot of the second one. So did you play the second one?
Right, true. I think I played through like almost 3/4 of the second
Why
one.
don't
I
we
have
just
to, I
do
have to finish it.
let's do the first one then. We'll focus on that one because I haven't finished the second one either. So how about
Okay.
Joel, Ellie? I'm trying to think of like maybe somebody else other than I guess probably just Tommy. But I feel like you
Yeah.
don't see Tommy as much.
True, but like Tommy has that special training. Like
That's
just
true.
like the way they work together, like
Yeah.
they definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so start, bench,
Man.
cut. Who you got? I think I got mine.
Oh man. I'm gonna see, here's the thing though, like that's the weird part because I feel like if you kill any one of them, like the other two are just gonna turn on you if you leave them.
That's
to
true.
die.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, but if I had to go, I would have to start Ellie, and the only reason I'm going Ellie over Joel, longevity, 100%.
Yeah.
Joel is up there in age, no less lethal,
Smart.
but yeah, so I'm thinking like long term.
Yeah. That's smart.
I'd probably have to bench Joel though for those clutch situations,
Yeah.
and I'd have to cut Tommy, which would be the hard one because I know Joel doesn't stop if you do that.
That's true. And I mean, I guess though, if you put him on the bench, that is a good point that, he still helps you out here and there, but he ain't going to be a big fan of you.
Yeah, exactly.
I see, and I agree. I'm almost with you, except I would start Joel, bench Ellie, cut Tommy. The only reason I say that is because I know the first part is mostly focused around Ellie not really being a badass.
Oh, that's
now
a good
I
point,
know
too.
the second episode she goes on a tear, so
True.
I know the
That's
second.
a good point.
So if I'm surviving and I'm with Joel for that long, and Joel, like you said, he's up there in age, but goddamn, Joel can kill 7 people and it not be a problem for him.
Oh yeah, he won't even blink twice.
Yeah.
It's just done already.
But knowing how Ellie becomes in the second episode, it is very like I almost want to switch it around, but I'm with you right there.
Yeah, they're so tight. Like they're so replaceable, like both directions.
Yes.
Especially as Ellie gets older. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't played much of the second, but I've literally seen like clips and stuff of where there's like a bunch of dead people and she just is just standing there like nothing happened.
Right. Now, I'm gonna sidebar here for a half second.
Okay.
If you put Abby in place of Tommy, I might bench Abby and cut Joel.
Okay, I might be there
I'm
with you.
just yeah. I
I
mean,
might be there
same idea.
because she don't hold back.
No, exactly. That's pretty clear.
Because I think Joel will second guess stuff, like obviously that we saw in the first game. He
True.
second guessed, bringing Ellie there. But I think
That is
he
true.
has a heart to where Abby is vengeful along with Ellie. Like they both are only there for vengeance. They don't care if you're in the way. If you're not part of their team, you are probably dead.
That's a good point. That is true too. Absolutely.
I'm curious though to see. I mean, so I've seen episode 1, or not episode 1. Sorry, the first game, obviously season 1.
Yep.
I'm curious what they changed though in season 2, because
Yeah.
I think they stick with the storyline. I don't think they're going to change much from there.
I think that's one weird advantage that The Last of Us has had on any other show made out of games.
Yes.
Is they are like really, really tight to the game, or at least feeling or vibe of the situation in play.
Right. Yeah, I like, because I mean they went so much by the script to the game, but they also changed some things here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just curious what this second season will be like. I'm almost curious that if they're gonna bring Pedro Pascal back, that if they pay him, but I think they will probably use him in different ways, like maybe more flashbacks.
That's kind of one thing I was thinking about too, like because you do have like a really I can't remember how long the gap is between the first game and the second game, not in terms of development, but like years
I
between
think it
the
was
two
like
games occurring.
5 or 6, maybe. I don't. It is a decent amount though, because obviously we see Ellie as a kid, and then all of a sudden she's more of a teenager now.
True. Yeah, and that's it. Like there is that weird like emotional gap that's now between Joel and Ellie. So there's so much room for story to take place where nothing really was done in game just to keep like the plot moving.
Right.
They have a lot of room to play in that.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I'm just curious to see what it's going to be like here in the next few years. I mean, I know they're developing it already because of how successful this first season was.
Absolutely.
Which it was. I mean, again, if you haven't seen it and you're watching the podcast, please go watch it. It was so good. Like they did fantastic. I feel like, and I've talked about this. I don't know if I talked about this on stream or with somebody, but Bella Ramsey got a lot of hate. Like I feel like for playing Ellie, but I feel like she killed that role.
I did too. So here's the thing, like when they first, do you remember way back? I think it was when the original Last of Us came out, and then at the time it got a lot of comparison to at the time Ellen Page, I think it was, and like there was like all of that went down, and then they adjusted the character model and stuff like that.
Right.
But I can't see Ellie not as Bella Ramsey now.
No,
like,
and I'm the same way with Joel.
So good.
Like
yes, true.
Like I don't think people hated as much on that casting. I do think that I remember seeing some stuff that like they kind of questioned it, but it's the same way. Like I see Joel in the game and Joel in the TV show as the same person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think tonally they're both so perfect for the roles that they're in. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there was anyone like miscast in that show. Man, they absolutely nailed it.
Dude, I can't even. Between everybody that they had in that game, like in the game, in the TV show, like I just think that they killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
I'm trying to think, and I'm gonna sound so stupid because I cannot think of the two characters' names. What was the characters with he had the deaf brother?
Oh my gosh.
Henry? Was it Henry?
Henry, yes.
Henry and
Henry.
Sam?
Sam, yes, that's it. Sam.
Henry and Sam. I thought that the fact that they made Sam younger, I think Sam's the younger one. Yeah, Sam's the younger one. Mm-hmm. I think that the fact that they made Sam younger, like, hit harder to home. Like, hit hard watching that episode.
Yeah, there was if there's again like it's so hard to talk about what the show did wrong when they did so much right if anything wrong, but they've nailed like no, and the game was the same way. We're gonna make you feel this moment whether you want to or not,
right?
And it's just every part of it they were just like, no, we're about to emotionally destroy you, and you just have to deal with it. Yeah,
sorry, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that you're gonna cry every single episode.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think those episodes with Henry and Sam, or yeah, Henry and Sam both were really interesting to me. And I know probably not as much you, but for the people that are listening to the podcast, most likely know that I'm from Kansas City. And so the fact that that entire 2 or 3 episodes are based in Kansas City was so cool to see, because hardly ever is like anything taking place in the Midwest. Like it's
Right,
always
yeah.
California. Sometimes it's Florida, New York, Chicago, barely even Chicago, but all those places. So watching those
absolutely.
episodes, it was so cool to see, because like they have we have a theme park out here called Worlds of Fun, and they showed it run down and like taken over by everything. And they showed it
right,
on
I
the show,
remember
and it
that.
was so cool to see. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, that was Worlds of Fun. That's the Patriot." Like we just knew the ride, we knew the Mamba, we saw the Mamba on there. We're like, "Oh my god, we know that ride." So it was cool. I kind of geeked out at that part.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I bet I would too. Oh my gosh. Heck
But
yeah.
I'm excited to see what they come out with. I know that, it's in good hands. They did fantastic. I believe the director is the same director as the Chernobyl series. And I know
Yes.
the Chernobyl series was absolutely fantastic. I've watched half of that season already, because I've started watching it after The Last of Us, strictly because I knew the director directed both of them.
I see. I 100% have to double back to watch that, because I didn't even hear of it. I don't think, and which is weird, because that's right in the genre of something that I would typically watch, but that one just slid right underneath my radar completely.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, because I'm a big fan of like watching stuff based on true stories and true stuff like that. So like I definitely was. I don't know why I didn't watch it, but
Yeah. And I think so. Was there a moment for you in the show where you were like waiting to see it because you love the moment so much in the game?
yes.
Was there one of those for you? Which one was that one?
It was definitely. It was actually funny enough. I had a tweet blow up about this. It was the moment when in the game, Ellie is by herself after Joel had gotten hurt, and she's in that like burning cafe area trying to get away from the dude, and then he like gets on top of her, and she's like screaming and stuff, and then she takes the machete and starts just beating him like over and over
gosh,
and over.
yeah.
And I knew going into that, because I was like, dude, the fact that Bella Ramsey's been this good so far, I can't wait to see how she's gonna. Because that was one of the most emotional scenes in the game. I know there was a lot of emotional scenes, but in my opinion, that was one of the top ones. It's just
yeah.
because of Ellie's pure acting and pure reaction. Because she finally, that was like her first real time being by herself. She was scared. She had this guy that was trying to get on top of her and do who knows what to her and stuff like that. And she escapes, and her first line of defense is that machete, and she does not hold back with it and just keeps going. And
Yeah, absolutely goes to town.
dude, and there's a part in, I don't know if I can remember it, but there's a part where it's the same thing where she's on top beating, and she screams and she's yelling, and it's like watching it, you're just sitting there like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
voice like cuts out because of how hard she is screaming. That is
Yeah,
just
it
crazy.
was intense for sure.
By the way, if anybody's watching this on YouTube and you keep seeing me look over to my right here, we are currently underneath a tornado watch, and I hear lots of thunder.
Lord.
Thunder going on, and it is very windy. So if you see me keep looking over to my right, that's probably why. Just a heads up. I just want to I've done it multiple times now, and I know people that are going to be watching on YouTube are like, what is going on? So if power goes out and the episode just takes a random cut and we pick back up randomly, we lost power. So now you know why.
That makes sense. Oh my gosh.
I'm excited though. Everything that I remember from that show is fantastic. I need to ask: is there a side character that you specifically really liked? Like not a Tommy, not a Joel, not an Ellie. Like more of like a Henry, more like a Sam, stuff like that.
I'm gonna look this up really quick.
I'll
trying
tell
to
you
think.
mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Mine was, I freaking loved the episode with Riley.
That was so I wasn't ready for that because I wasn't sure. That was DLC originally, correct?
Yes, that was
Yeah,
DLC.
and I was like, are they gonna do that? And I was so happy they did.
Yeah, and I think that the casting for I think her name is Stormy Reed. Stormy Reed, I think is her name. Maybe I could be wrong. Storm Reed, just Storm Reed.
Right.
Plays Riley, and oh my gosh, she was fantastic. That wasn't my favorite episode by any means, but I was so happy that they even decided to do that episode, because I know, like you said, it's just a DLC thing. So the fact that they did it,
Right.
and then I really love the Bill episode too.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, so here's if you asked me that without watching the show, I might say Marlene, just because Marlene is this just like badass leader, right?
Right, right, right.
You throw Nick Offerman in
Yes.
as Bill, it might be Bill. So in game Marlene,
Yeah.
show I would say Bill. Like, oh
Very
my
fair.
gosh, that whole sequence, like just watching like it's Nick Offerman and he's doing Nick Offerman things that you would expect.
Oh yeah, he
You
has
know?
like, the Nick Offerman. I always feel like Nick Offerman has the lowest emotion, but also the most emotion. Like it's so
Yeah,
weird.
exactly.
His face,
Exactly.
something about his acting, his face and voice does not change, but like in that episode, you can tell how sad he was, and like he knows that Frank is gonna pass away, so like he's
Right.
very visibly upset about it.
Yeah, I was watching that with Lady Stacks and we get to the episode and I'm like, "Oh no."
Please,
And she's like, "What?" And I'm like,
nothing.
"Just I'm going to go get a box. I'll be right back." You're
You
gonna
just
need
know.
this trust. Just
And,
give me a minute.
They like did that episode so good because we knew about Frank in the episode, but all you did in the
Right.
in the game, all it was just, I believe it's a real quick scene of Bill cutting down like the thing where he had hung himself in the game.
Right. Yeah. And for what they were doing in the show before that, like they're about to get into it and it's about
yeah.
to be a roller coaster.
Oh yeah. I also really really loved the voice actors and actresses playing some random characters. Troy Baker, who plays Joel, played James.
Yeah.
Ellie, who Ashley Johnson plays Ellie, played the mom of Ellie, which was really cool to see. The fact that they still kept her with Ellie was even better.
Right. I get like you look at the so many shows where like things have gone wrong. Like I've never invested into the Halo series, but like everything that went wrong there and all the outrage there,
Right.
like and then to have this show come along that doesn't just like nod, but like nods to every piece of the game,
Yes.
even the voice actors. Oh my gosh, that's so huge.
They brought on, because they even brought on the game developers to
Right,
like for the thing, like because they know that they're like, hey guys, we don't want to mess this up. Like, please tell us. Like, I know the director said he played the game and then he immediately called like the head person over at Naughty Dog and was like, hey, we want everybody that worked on The Last of Us to come help us with this because we don't want to do this wrong. And I feel like
And
there's
that's
not
just
a lot of video game adaptations of movies or TV shows.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a good point. And I think like there's only weirdly if it's like transition from a game to live action, like I understand that there's only so much like in sequence that you can do and
Right.
to a certain to a certain aspect, CGI can only do so much.
Right.
But like something like you have The Last of Us, or even I mean, frankly, there are other series with Uncharted too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of sequences in that are just like human emotion and general action scenes that lend itself so perfectly to film.
Yeah, and I mean there's been a lot of movies. Like I feel like, Sonic just had one, you have a new Mario movie coming out, but there's hardly ever
True.
been like TV shows, I feel like.
Yeah,
At least
that is a good point.
I mean there's been TV shows and then there's been games made from TV shows or movies or stuff like that, but hardly ever is it the other way around where it's games or TV shows being made from games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just wanted to talk about The Last of Us real quick. I know that me and you really both enjoyed it, and that was something that kind of hit home when watching it, and just the video game world finally got a W in that category of TV shows.
Needed.
Definitely needed. I wanted to take this moment before we end the podcast to please plug anything that you would like. I would be more than happy for you to plug it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, pretty much all I'm editing this podcast, so check that out. Obviously,
Right.
You're here, subscribe. Live it up.
Might as well.
And yeah, and I mean, I'm over on Twitch, Short Stacks. That's it's SHORTST4X, and I pretty much stream mostly every day, so I'm around.
Perfect. And you will see probably more of Short multiple times. He will be editing these videos for however long we can have him, and then I guarantee you we'll probably bring him back on the episode, to be honest with you. We're having a repeated guest come up, don't worry. So we're definitely going to have you back on, maybe even after season 2 of The Last of Us.
Yo, I'll be more than happy to.
But I appreciate you coming on, man. I know that we got to talk a little bit about the Dark and Darker, Last of Us, and stuff like that, and just take a quick moment to talk, and I appreciate it, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate being here. It was awesome.
All right, guys, make sure you guys are following on all of the socials. Again, if you want to find all of them, they're linked down below. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. If you are following this or listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you might be listening to this, please make sure you like it, download it, whatever the category or whatever the site that you're using or app you're using uses. Please do so. It actually makes a big difference for us. I want to talk about one last thing, and that's that the last episode that we had got over about 30 views, I believe. Well, this is episode 1, sorry. Episode 2 at the time has not been released yet. So as I'm recording this, you have already seen episode 2 of season 2, but season 2, episode 1 did fantastic on everything. I think it ended up getting, I'm trying to pull up the stats right here, it is 21 downloads in just under 15 days. So that's fantastic. So I appreciate you guys showing support. Again, thank you, Short, for coming out. And guys, we will see you on the next episode number 4.